Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. The trades are all reporting this week that the new Hal Jordan Green Lantern has finally been cast, and it looks like Josh Brolin dropped out at the last minute when they were haggling over how much money they were going to pay him, so we'll break it all down. Even though it would have been hilarious for Josh Brolin to be the next Hal Jordan in the movies after Ryan Reynolds, would have been a lot of poetic justice because he made fun of Ryan Reynolds for being Green Lantern so much. The person they actually wound up casting still has a funny connection to Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool movies and to Josh Brolin separately, so if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. I will do weekly episode videos for the Green Lantern's HBO series when it starts. They're saying they're going to be filming early next year, meaning they wouldn't release until 2026. That's the same year they're releasing the Batman 2. Matt Reeves has been talking about that like we're in the middle of the Penguin episodes right now. I'm also doing videos for that. Been fantastic so far. And we're supposed to get that new Supergirl movie that year too. That is connected to the DCU. The Batman, the Penguin stuff is not. The Green Lantern's HBO series is mostly meant to be an Earth-based series like True Detective with Hal Jordan mentoring a young Jon Stewart. They've used the words True Detective many times when describing the series. Basically a true crime Green Lantern series. The Hollywood trades are now reporting that Kyle Chandler is their new Hal Jordan in the DCU. The Friday Night Lights Green Lantern, clear eyes, full rings, can't lose the War of Light to the Sinestro Corps.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
Even though we make all the Green Lantern jokes, you have to think that all the characters being a little bit older than you would normally expect, older than say like in the previous movies, Sinestro has taken the yellow ring and he's probably either pretty close to creating the Sinestro Corps or he has already created it in James Gunn's DCU. Most people know Kyle Chandler from Friday Night Lights, but he also did Godzilla King of the Monsters. He's also been in a ton of other movies and TV shows, so you probably know him from somewhere. The interesting thing about all this, the fine print, like zoom in and hands, the trades are saying that the contract that he signed for this Green Lantern series is only for the HBO TV show. There's no film component, meaning that he didn't sign on for the upcoming movies. This is actually a pretty big deal. Like a lot of people immediately assume that meant they're going to Ned Stark him, going full Game of Thrones by the end of season 1, killing him off, like he sacrifices himself to save Jon Stewart, and then theoretically, Jon Stewart becomes the younger Green Lantern that joins the future Justice League team when they come together in the DCU. What it could also mean is they just plan to use him in different ways in the future of the DCU, but he's not meant to be like the main Green Lantern on that Justice League. They're more focused on putting Jon Stewart on the Justice League. But having watched an HBO TV series or two, don't you just expect them to try and kill him off by the end of season 1? Like, that just feels like something that they would do. Kyle Chandler is a fantastic choice. He's a solid actor, and if you've seen him on Friday Night Lights or any of his true crime-related stuff like detective-style conspiracy-themed work, good example is his Godzilla King of the Monsters character. That's kind of the vibe of Hal Jordan that they're going for in the Green Lantern series.
No, this time we join the fight.
Grizzled old 2 days away from retirement Green Lantern mentoring a young Jon Stewart, hopeful but a little more jaded than say like the young version of Ryan Reynolds' Hal Jordan Green Lantern. And because we're talking about the future new Justice League team, there is a proto version of the Justice League that we got footage of from the new Superman movie with Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner Green Lantern. Remember, we already have a Green Lantern we're going to see next year in the Superman movie. And even though you don't actually see him walking around on set, there's Metamorpho that's part of this group too, but they're doing him with a lot of visual effects. All of them are meant to be wearing matching white outfits with highlights based on their original comic book suits. I'm not a big fan of the look of the suits, like I'd rather see an actual Green Lantern suit, like an actual Hawkgirl suit, more like the comics. But I think part of the idea is that you're meant to mock them, like this is meant to be a parody of a Justice League team, more like Justice League International, because I think this group is sponsored by Maxwell Lord in the events of the Superman movie, because Maxwell Lord's company symbol is on all their suits. In the Justice League during Justice League International was the one that Maxwell Lord spent most of his time working with. The way that James Gunn talked about the character, his version of Maxwell Lord will be more like that comic book version, not like Pedro Pascal's. Like he said, he'll be different from all the Maxwell Lords that we've seen before. He's going to be played by Sean Gunn, his brother. You may remember him as Kraglin from all the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So I think part of the idea is they're meant to feel kind of like a proto version of the Justice League, but not the actual Justice League. And their suits kind of look like the Terrifics team suits from the comics too. Maybe towards the end of the movie, they'll give Superman the idea to start putting a team together eventually, but the whole idea is that we're not going to see the actual real Justice League team, like the new main Justice League team, for a good long while in the DCU. The way that James Gunn talked about it, he's plotting it out in a chapter situation, but more like Marvel's phases. He's just calling them chapters. So this first block of movies that he announced in TV shows is just DC Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. He didn't say what Chapter 2 is going to be. But it's like Marvel Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, where like you end each phase with a big Avengers movie. Eventually we'll probably build up to that first Justice League movie in the next like 4 or 5 years. The only thing they haven't confirmed so far is who's going to play Jon Stewart. I know everybody likes that new actor from Rebel Ridge. We'll see who they wind up actually casting, and they haven't said who their new Flash is going to be in-universe, probably because we're so hot off the heels of Ezra Miller in the Flash movie. Like, they just want to let the dust settle on that. Like, give a good long while to give people time to forget about that. So we don't know if the new main Flash of the DCU will be Barry Allen or Wally West, but because it seems like James Gunn's Justice League might be based more on the animated Justice League with Hawkgirl on the team, there's a good chance that Wally West could be the Flash that winds up on that Justice League team. You might remember that Michael Rosenbaum, of all people, Lex Luthor, played that version of Wally West.
I was the voice of the Flash for 10 years.
Wait. What?
Yeah. I know what these boys are going through.
How did I miss that?
This isn't gonna work, is it? Not a chance.
Hey, where you going? Come on.
I talked a lot about Michael Rosenbaum's version of Lex Luthor when I was talking about the Superman movie, just because James Gunn acknowledged his version of Lex Luthor as the best Lex. The whole joke there, though, is that he's probably not going to have a cameo inside the Superman movie. Like, I'm not expecting it to happen. Like, he is really good friends with James Gunn, but he acknowledges himself. Like, Michael Rosenbaum understands that he's not going to be in some of those movies. There's always the chance that he could show up in like a completely different role, though. I am still kind of salty that he didn't come back during Crisis on Infinite Earths during all the TV shows as his version of Wally West in live action. That would have actually been awesome. Not coming back as Lex from Smallville, but coming back as his Wally West. But if you think about it this way, if they're going with an older Hal Jordan, that probably means that their Barry Allen is also a bit older and Wally West is old enough, like adult Flash now, that he's not Kid Flash anymore and he can be on that Justice League team. This is actually James Gunn explaining what the story of the Green Lantern's HBO series will be and how it connects to all the movies.
The next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other Lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU.
Some of you also might remember the funny connection that Kyle Chandler has to Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool movies and to Josh Brolin. So when they were making Deadpool 2 several years ago, first they wanted Brad Pitt for Cable, like he was their first choice. Of course he turned that role down, but did decide to come on and do the Vanisher cameo scene. Then supposedly Ryan Reynolds and the original director Tim Miller, who dropped out of the movie at a certain point, disagreed on who should play Cable. One wanted Kyle Chandler and the other Josh Brolin. So of course Josh Brolin won out, made for some great Thanos jokes pre-Disney buying Fox and Deadpool coming to the MCU. But the idea is that before, it was basically Josh Brolin stealing a job from Kyle Chandler, and now Kyle Chandler is yoinking a job from Josh Brolin. Supposedly, the other people they also wanted for the role were Chris Pine, who just showed up as Steve Trevor in a couple different Wonder Woman movies inside Zack Snyder's DCEU. There was no way that they were going to bring him back after playing Steve Trevor. Matthew McConaughey, who was also just in Deadpool and Wolverine, is Cowboy Deadpool, all because they're doing True Detective with Green Lantern characters in the DC universe, and he just did True Detective Season 1. There's probably no way that he was going to sign a long-term contract to appear in a whole bunch of movies. Like, he would have done a one-off cameo, but that was about it. Like, there's no way they could afford him. And Ewan McGregor, who I think is an amazing actor. Like, love his Obi-Wan Kenobi. Love all the weird stuff that he does outside of the Star Wars universe. Like, he does a ton of different stuff, and it gets super weird. And even though I'm sure he could turn in an amazing performance, he just does not scream Hal Jordan to me. Like, when I think of Hal Jordan, I don't think of Ewan McGregor. So honestly, if it's not going to be Josh Brolin, I feel like Kyle Chandler actually is a really solid choice. So everybody post all your reactions to Kyle Chandler, Green Lantern in the comics. Like, what do you think about him playing an older version of Hal Jordan mentoring Jon Stewart? And do you think they're going to Ned Stark him by the end of Season 1? There's a bunch of big stuff coming up. We're in the middle of the Penguin Batman episodes. It's been fantastic so far. My episode 2 video will post next Sunday after they release it. Everybody click here for my episode 1 video, and click here for that footage from the new Superman movie with the new villain that they're using. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.